All right, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, 2004 season. He was 28 years old. Played all 16 games. Started all 16. Went 12-4 as a starter. His completion percentage was 67.6. That was his highest. At this time, that was his highest. But he ended up passing that in 2009 with Indianapolis. He had 68.8. That was his highest. But anyway, he had 4,557 yards. He had 49 touchdowns that led the lead. That was a record at the time. Marino had 48 and 90. I forgot what year that was, but I think it was 94. No, it was 80 something. I'm sorry, yo, I'm tripping. Dan Marino had 48 touchdowns, and Peyton Manning passed it this year with 49. And then Peyton Manning had 284 yards per game, and then he led the lead in quarterback rating with 121.1. Let's see, man. Let's look at this real quick, because this still might be the best year ever for a quarterback, besides the 55 touchdown year, because he sat out the last 3 games basically. Let me see. Yep, he had 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 254 yards with 2 touchdowns. Then he threw 393 against Green Bay with 5 touchdowns. Game 4, they went 12-4 by the way. Jacksonville, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. Oakland, 198 yards with 3 touchdowns. And then Jacksonville again, 300. This in order too as it goes. This week 6. Jaguars again, 368 yards and 3 touchdowns. They lost by a field goal. Kansas City they lost, but he had 472 yards and 5 touchdowns. Then Minnesota, 268 yards, 4 touchdowns. See what he was doing, man? This is ridiculous. They played the Houston, was it the Oilers or the Texans at that time? Houston, I can't remember, but it was Houston. I think they were still the Oilers. 320 yards and 5 touchdowns. Then against Chicago, 211 yards, 4 touchdowns. Against Detroit, 236 yards and 6 touchdowns. He completed 82% of his passes. And then Tennessee, 425 yards, 3 touchdowns. Houston, 298 yards with 2 touchdowns. So he did play. He didn't sit out mostly. He has 249 yards and a touchdown in week 14. Then they was already like, I think they only lost 3 games at this point, or 2. They played San Diego. Yeah, they was 10-3 going into the last 3 weeks. So they played Baltimore, 249 yards and a touchdown. So now they are 11-3, and then they play San Diego Chargers. So he had 383 yards with 2 touchdowns. That's now they are 12-3, and then they lost the last game in a blowout. But he only threw 2 passes. He had 6 yards. So basically, he would have had I don't know. I think he would have had he could have threw 3 touchdowns, let's say, or 2. So he would have had 51 touchdowns and 10 picks or whatever. But yeah, that's Peyton Manning. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 games he threw for over 300, and out of those 6 games, 2 of them was over 400. Touchdowns, 3, 4. He had 6 games with at least 4 touchdowns. He had 1 6-touchdown game. The most interceptions he thrown in the game was 2, and then he paid for it. I mean, he made up for it because he threw 5 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns respectively. So his worst game, you could say, his worst game by quarterback rating is outside of the game he only threw 2 attempts, was 93.5, and that was week 1 against New England. They lost by a field goal, but he still had 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But he only threw 55% of his passes completed. He completed over 65% of his passes in in 9 games, and then he only threw under 60 3 times out of the 16 games. And one of them is the one he was only 1 for 2. But that's Peyton Manning MVP year in 2004, and he also won Offensive Player of the Year in 2004. So that was with the Colts.